everyone, and welcome to Dubai Dads, the podcast where the toys multiply faster than our paycheck. I'm host, still hunting for my missing sock. He's, still hunting for his sanity. Dubai Dads is a podcast and community for fathers everywhere, a place to laugh, vent, share advice, and try to get better at this whole parenting thing. Today, we have a very special guest, someone we connected with. We have with us Chris Beavers, otherwise known as FatherFitPT, who basically is a dad, fellow dad, and a fitness coach, trying to help fathers like us reclaim our health, our confidence, and our energy. Chris, awesome having you here on the Dubai Dads podcast.
Cool. Thank you. Thank you for inviting me on.
Yeah, anytime. Chris, before we get into it, can you just give me a little brief, exactly what you do, the kind of things you've done and accomplished? Would love to hear more about it.
So I've been a personal trainer for 14 years, and I worked for a company called Ultimate Performance for 6 of those years, and they specialize in sort of body composition, taking people from typical dad bod to ripped and this ideal body that the media kind of portrays, that this is health, this is fitness, and then when I became a dad 4.5 years ago, when my son Bo was born, and I quickly realized there's so much more to health and fitness than just pure vanity and pure aesthetics. And for me, that was quite a big turning point when, personally for me, my life changed, my priority shifted as somebody who had very little responsibilities, but would say, oh yeah, no, I've got a very busy life, to having a son and putting family first. And I quickly realized, actually, the gym, nutrition, lifestyle, all of these habits which are there to help you feel good in yourself, help you look good, help you improve your health, they're so much more valuable to dads. But the problem a lot of dads have is that they really struggle to integrate them into their new life. And I think it's a combination of limiting beliefs, this kind of chaos of, you've got a big change in identity, you lose that sense of who you are, and you're trying to kind of regain that again. And for me now, I love working with dads purely because I love the chats I have with the dads I work with, because we've got the same values and same morals. But also I know how fulfilling and how much better good health, good fitness can have on the dad's life, but also on their kid's life as well, which is, for me, one of the most important things.
Very well said. Honestly, Yas and we're going through our own health, run. We're actually being very health conscious. Most of my life, and I'll speak for myself, is I've been unhealthy most of my life, just how I always was. And being a father is what actually woke me up. And I said, whoa, if I keep doing this, I'm either going to die of a stroke, die of a heart attack, or be such a burden to my children that I won't be able to enjoy them when they're 30 years old, and we won't be able to build a relationship and all that, because I'm going to be so unhealthy that they're going to be taking care of me. And that for me was like, hit me like a truck. And I'm like, oh my God, I have to make a change right now. And it's been a struggle. I'm not gonna lie. I struggle. I go up and down. Some weeks I'm on it and I'm losing weight. Some weeks I'm not. And the stress of being a father and everything that comes with that becomes I'm gonna be honest. It becomes my excuse to eat. It becomes, I'm stressed. I'm tired. I'm broke. I have so much, things in my head. I'm just gonna eat this fried chicken. And I feel better for 15 seconds. And I do feel like absolute crap for hours after. And me and Yas talk about this all the time. So what you're doing hits me on a very emotional level. And it's something that, I was really happy that we connected, because, it's something that I watch a lot of your videos, and I see that some of the people work with, and it's beautiful. And I'd like to get there one day. And me and Yas are really pushing each other. We're trying to be accountable, and we're trying to build this together. And so, man, we appreciate you. As for all the dads out there, we appreciate people like you, man, honestly.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%. I echo that. I mean, for me, I wasn't so, fitness oriented when I was growing up as a child. But then when I got to my not even teen, my adult years, and I was, dating and looking to get married, I focused on it 100%. And I was eating clean. I worked out. It was great. And then I got married, had some kids, and as most dads do, just let everything go. And when I did, it was, easy to do that. And I was just focusing on other things that I thought were priorities over, my own fitness. And Hoos, you said that you thought you were gonna have a stroke or a heart attack. Well, the doctor told me I would. I have South Asian genetics. We have a history of stroke and heart attacks in our family. My father was a stroke patient, and he was actually a quadriplegic for 10 years. So we as a family know what that did to us, and it made a huge difference. And then after that, we had our two kids. We kind of let loose, both of us, and then when we had our third just recently, I was like, okay, now I just had a child at 40. If I don't do something about my routine, my health, my habits now, then I can't expect to play with him when he's old enough to play sports and do things and needs me to be there for him. So that was my wake up call. I got into it, and I think I've come back, and Hus and I, again, we support each other to do that. So very cool on what you do. I like that you focus on dads because it's a huge not only an aspect of helping men stay fit, but also helping their children, right? So you're actually helping a community, a society as a whole. So kudos to you, Chris.
Thank you. I do my best. Honestly, that's one of the biggest drivers, knowing that I'll be able to have an impact on the next generation, sort of vicariously through the dads that I work with. But interestingly, when dads reach out, and when I chat to dads in Instagram messages, they come from one of two paths, and it's literally that you're both one of them. One is, never really trained, and then you have kids and you realize something needs to change, or I'm going to be in a really terrible place. And then the other one is, I used to train, and I always think guys who come from this one are almost at a disadvantage, because you have an idea of what works and what worked for you pre-kids. And quite often the belief that those dads have is, well, that's what I need to do. I need to do it at the same intensity. I need to do it with the same vigor. I need to do as much and the same training sessions. And of course, physiologically, if you could do that, it does work. But there are just too many other competing priorities to dedicate the amount of time, energy, and effort to that. And with both types of dads that come in, it's about reframing what fitness and what health does, and how that will impact their life. The best way I can say it is, good fitness and good health is a catalyst for you to enjoy the rest of your life, and is never either or. You can't have good health or be a good dad. You don't have to choose. You can 100% be both. And in fact, I think the healthier and fitter someone is, they have the capability to be the dad that they want. I mean, every single dad that I work with and talk to, they have that desire to be a great dad. That can't be taught. Working with me or anyone else, I'm not going to make you want to be a better dad. However, through the work that we do, you just have a greater capacity to live that life that you want to live, and to sort of be that dad that you want to be.
No, 100%. Honestly, I definitely think that being a healthier person actually will make you a better father. Like, if you're so unhealthy, like you can't even pick your kid up and throw him in the air, right? That is, just being able to do that will automatically make you bond more with your child and have that relationship. So I think they're directly correlated. And I'm speaking from experience. For me, like when I was at my heaviest, I felt that I dropped the ball as a father many times, and as I get healthier and stronger, I feel like I have a lot more capabilities of being a better dad, and that makes me happier, right? Definitely. And everything I feel like, and the days where I don't work out, I'm like, oh, I'm going to hurt my relationship with them. So this is something I have to really prioritize.
Definitely.
I agree on that one. I wanted to ask you is, when you work with dads and dads who really want to get fit, what would be the biggest obstacle for them, do you think? What's the one common thread you see across dads?
So a lot of it is just the limiting beliefs that they have about what they need to do. And then the limiting beliefs also tie into coping mechanisms as well, and getting the right coping mechanisms. The biggest limiting belief most dads have is just the all or nothing approach, and thinking, If I can't go all in, fine, whatever. I'll just start again on Monday. But then that means the whole weekend, let's say it's Friday night, you've had a tough week at work. Your boss has thrown a deadline on your table at like 3 p.m. and said, you need to get this done. You come home late, you're fed up, you order a takeaway. Because you've ordered a takeaway, you don't sleep very well. So you wake up Saturday morning, you're really, really tired. Your kid jumps in your bed and you just want to sleep. So, you react instead of respond. And then you just think, do you know what, whatever, I'm going to start again on Monday. And then, you spend the whole weekend where you get takeaways, you don't really exercise or you walk, you just, stay up late watching Netflix or whatever it may be. And actually, the best thing to do in that situation is understand that it doesn't have to be all or nothing. You can have a crap time Friday. If you do have that, Saturday's going to be hard. But actually, if you wake up and you think you almost have to like force yourself to have a good breakfast, to get to start on the right foot. But knowing that actually, if you do that, you are going to have a better weekend. You are going to enjoy the time with your kids more. You are going to enjoy the time with your family. And actually by doing that, you will feel better in yourself. You'll be happy in yourself. And then when Monday rolls around, you're not, in this despondent state where you're frustrated at the weekend and you're a bit resentful with the actions that you had. You regret it a little bit. And it's knowing that. And it's easy to know that. But then part of it is getting to the point where you just say, no, I'm going to do it this weekend. And you force yourself to do it one weekend, because then you have the belief that actually I am the kind of person that can do it. Because then when you have that belief, the next time it happens, you've got a blueprint and you know what you can do. But it's not just that for the all or nothing. It could be other triggers like missing a workout and thinking, I need to get, my workout plan is 4 workouts. That's what I need to get in. With my clients, the way I frame that is when I set them up, they'll tell me what they want. And of course, when people start, motivation is sky high. They'll do anything in the world. So climb 100 feet ladder, they'll do it. But it's important to set expectations right at the start. And I say, okay, well, look, you've told me you can work out 4 times a week. We both know what dad life is like. Let's say a good week is anything between 2 to 4 sessions. And if there's ever a week where you just get 1 session, like message me as soon as you know that's going to be the case, then let's talk about it. Because quite often, if you have a super busy week and you get 2 sessions in, that's pretty decent. And if you can accept that, and you have somebody saying, well, no, your kid has been ill, your wife's away traveling, like it's really impressive that you got 2 sessions in, it completely reframes how you feel about your week. And then all of a sudden you get to the weekend, you're not frustrated that you only got 2 sessions in. You're like, oh, that's brilliant, I've got 2 sessions in. And then it's easier to get through the weekend. So that's probably the biggest obstacle, kind of changing how people think about fitness, breaking through an all or nothing approach, and getting the mindset right so that it's easier to be consistent, and understanding that you don't have to be perfect. But one thing I tell my clients is to get a first class honours, you only need 70%. Yet you expect to get 100% in everything that we're doing together. It's not going to happen. Yeah. It's you can't have that expectation. Otherwise, you will just you'll fail. You will fail. But resetting that will help.
For sure. I think in everything you do as a dad, adaptability is key. You can't expect to live or be the same way throughout all the phases or stages of your life, especially when you have 2, 3, 4 different people involved and are taking up parts of your time. So I agree on the adaptability side, and I see the link you've put together too. Like, start wherever you can and try to get there. Don't try to train like you were when you were young. You have to do something differently now and slowly make your way there, and it's fine. You're going to get to your goals. I do want to ask, relating to what you said about breakfast, is there something you tell your the dads that you work with in terms of, changing the way they eat, but at the same time not losing, meal times and different sort of the activities and when it comes to eating with their kids, for example, or their family, or feeling like they have to strictly diet and it's the only way forward? I mean, is there some sort of a gradual process that you take them through to get there? I'm just asking because I think a lot of dads are scared to go on really hardcore diets, but rather, they'd like to start gradually, but they don't know where to start really. So maybe you have some advice on that.
Yeah, absolutely. So the first thing is understanding what the goal is and what the time frame is. If you want a hardcore transformation where you lose, I don't know, 12% body fat in 3 months, then you're going to need to go on a strict diet. But for most dads, it would be nice to have that, but they're not willing to sacrifice what it takes to get there. And I wouldn't either. I'm not saying that as in, oh, you should. Definitely not. I think the trade-off's not worth it. You'll be more miserable. You won't be fun. It impacts family meal times way too much. It's not the right approach at all, in my opinion. So part of it is understanding, okay, well, what do you actually need to do? How many calories do you need to eat per day? Do you need to eat those every single day? Or is there a special occasion? One of my clients has pizza night every Friday night where they have a little uni pizza oven thing and they all make a family pizza. On Fridays, we don't try and diet. We just try and hit maintenance. We go a little bit lighter on lunch. So he's got about 1,200 calories for dinner, which is a pizza. If he goes slightly over, fine. It doesn't matter. We play the long game. But the other way to look at this as well is that there are going to be some meals during the day through the week that you can control which aren't with your family. And with those meals, okay, what can we do? Can we make them as ideal as we can? Because if we can do that, then we're controlling what we control. When it comes to family dinners, you don't want to be sitting there with a completely different meal to the rest of your family. That's a recipe to fail, because there's only so long you can do that until you become disconnected. And family meal times are an important part of any family or any community, and you don't really want to impact that too much. So there's a couple of options there. One is portion control. If you're having spaghetti bolognese, one thing to say as well before this is any changes you make that are healthier will impact the rest of the family. So the goal with this isn't to work a family meal in with no change. The goal is, let's work a family, let's see what we can do to adapt a family meal that means it's healthier for you. And as the kids watch you for a couple of weeks, they slowly start going for the healthier kind of options as well. So if we take the meal of spaghetti bolognese, firstly, reduce your portion of spaghetti so you have more bolognese. Then you have more protein. If you mix veg into the bolognese, then you're going to have more vegetables as well. If you reduce the spaghetti, there's nothing wrong with carbs. Carbs don't make you fat. But if I put as much spaghetti as I want in a bowl, I'm definitely overeating on spaghetti, because it just, you do. Our eyes are always bigger than our stomachs. Can we swap the meat from, say, 20% beef mince to 5% beef mince? So we lower saturated fats, which is going to be fantastic for reducing risk of high blood pressure or any kind of cardiovascular disease as well. And then no matter what the meal is, can you add a bowl of vegetables that you add to your plate? Nobody else has to have them if they don't want them. But if they want them, sure, they're there, have them. And so part of it is seeing what you can do to adapt the meals. And if there is one family event or maybe two family events a week, which are this is big. The UK, massive on roast dinners, right? Yeah. If there's great, the best meal in the world, in my opinion, there may be some disagreements there. You can have a roast on a Sunday and still have a successful week. But the problem comes is you have a roast and then you're annoyed that you had a roast. Then you have a couple of pints and then you eat chocolates when you get home, and then all of a sudden, that isn't ideal at all. So there are ways in which you can kind of adapt meal times. But the one other big thing that I want to mention, and I call it a linchpin habit with so many of my dads, because it's a habit where if you can get it right, if you can find a way to work it into your day, everything else about your day is so much easier. And I'm always a bit kind of on edge about mentioning it, because it just sounds like another PT regurgitating typical PT advice, but it's having a high protein breakfast. But the reason why, protein has a physiological effect within your body where it increases one hormone called, or reduces one hormone called ghrelin, which makes you feel hungry, and it increases three other hormones which help you feel satiated. So having a high protein breakfast will reduce your cravings and your hunger for the rest of the day, which make it so much easier to not give in to temptations like biscuits, which then make you feel worse, which then have a domino effect on the rest of your day. And it makes you feel more energized. So if there's one habit, which I'm like, no, if there's one thing you can do with your meals that will make the biggest difference, is have a high protein breakfast. Because the rest of the day, you'll typically just eat less. Unless you're super stressed and eating is a coping mechanism, in which case the eating is another problem which needs to be worked on. But a high protein breakfast is one of the best things anyone can do for their day.
Makes total sense.
I've actually heard that a lot, and I try to.
What do you have for breakfast?
Well, what I do, especially in the weekdays. By the way, for me, the weekend is the hardest for me to like maintain it. The weekdays, I'm just like drill sergeant, right? So I usually do is I try to maximize my fasting window, and then have a limited eating window. So I usually, like, the first thing I'll eat is at 11, and that'll be like a egg white omelet. Would be just that, and like a protein shake. That'll be like my 11 o'clock, and then I'll have some kind of protein at 3, and then I might have something else like a yogurt at like 5, and that's it. I'm done for the day. That'll be like my Monday to Friday. So I do try to start with as much protein as I can, because everyone's told me that.
Yeah.
And then weekends are hard.
Weekends are horrible, man.
Should I tell you why? Okay.
Huh? Yeah, go ahead, please.
I'll tell you what. Okay. So one, less structure and less routine. Okay. So that's number one. When you do your fasting, you're at work. You can't just go to the kitchen and grab food. So that's one reason that's why. But physiologically, you're making it harder for yourself at the weekend. So if you imagine hunger like an elastic band, where the less you eat, the more you pull it. And then, you diet really well Monday to Friday. Monday, you're here. Tuesday, you're here. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, all you're here is stretching. It's literally bound to snap. Okay? Because you've been in such a big deficit Monday to Friday. I bet if you weigh yourself, you'll lose like 1.5 kilos, 2 kilos, maybe 3 kilos, depending on how much you ate at the weekend. But it snaps. Physiologically, your mind's going mad. It's like, I need to eat foods. I'm super, super hungry. And then coupled with, kids being kids at the weekend, which is amazing, but also comes with a level of stress. It's not just all joy. There's a little bit of stress with it as well. And then the easiest way to numb stress or avoid it is to eat or to drink. And so that's where, your problem probably isn't just meals. It's probably a lot of picking and a lot of snacking as well. So a couple of ways to get around it. One is eat more during the week. That's what you described there is really, really low calorie. So physiologically, you're off the back of a massive deficit. You're going to be really, really hungry. You're going to find it very, very hard. And then the other way to get through the weekend is going to be, eat more during the week, so you're not as famished when you get to Saturday morning. And then the other thing, Saturday through Sunday, is for 4 weeks, maybe 5 weeks, set yourself a rigid times when you're going to have the meals, what you're going to have, and just eat that. Don't let yourself snack. And it takes a bit of mental brain power to be like, don't do it. But you get through the first one, I can do it. You feel good on Monday. You're in a better space for the next weekend. But the other thing as well is, if you have a high protein breakfast Saturday morning, so let's say you have, 3 egg omelette, some vegetables or a piece of fruit or something, and a protein shake. So 3 eggs with the yolks. I love egg whites and egg white omelets. I think they're great. But if you think about the yolk, there's enough micronutrients in the yolk to grow a baby chick, which is nuts. That does incredible things within your body, and you're low calorie anyway. So adding the yolks isn't gonna, the reason why you might not be able to lose weight isn't because you're missing the yolks, it's because of the weekend, for one.
Yeah.
So have that. And then if you know you're not eating till midday, till 12 p.m., you know, mentally you can think, I don't need to focus on food. I know what I'm going to have at midday. So you're not thinking, what am I going to have? You know what you're going to have. You're free to do what you want. You can be more present with your kids. You can, you know, say, oh, let's go out. You know, let's go for a walk. Let's go to the beach. Let's do something. But if you keep yourself busy there, then you get to the lunchtime, enjoy that. You've got the same thing in the afternoon. You know, go out, enjoy it, be present with the kids. You don't need to think about snacking. You just focus on that. But then on Monday morning as well, ask yourself, did I have a better weekend with the kids? Was I more connected? Was I more present with them? And that is the key, because you will be, because you're going to have more energy because you're not snacking and having bits here and there, which, you know, one, make you not feel great in yourself, but two, also reduce your energy. And then if you can make that connection of, well, if I do this Saturday, Sunday, I have a better time with my kids. I feel more refreshed and more rejuvenated when Monday morning rolls around because I've connected with my family more. And if there's one thing that's more important than nutrition and training, it's connection, then that's going to be the thing that's like, okay, it's worth it. This is a better way for me to kind of eat over the weekend.
Yeah. For me, it's always like when we go out as a family, like even when we go out, I'll get something healthy, but then like the kids will leave food on their plate and I'll be like, I don't want to throw food away.
Yeah.
Give me that pizza. Give me those fries. I'm like, I don't want to throw food away. I got
the dad in you.
I was brought up. You never throw food away. You know, never leave a plate empty. Never leave a plate full. So I'm like, oh, I just gotta eat it. And that's why.
What would you rather do? Throw away 1,000 loaves of bread, or have an extra 5 years with your kids?
Oh, 5 years any day.
No
not even a competition. I'll take the time with my kids. I'll throw everything away. I don't care.
Yeah.
That's your kids left.
Yeah.
I started doing that too. Before, like my mom raised me, you know, to make sure that everything on your plate is eaten, because there are kids out there starving, and you know you're committing sin if you're throwing away food.
Of course.
But what about the sin of hurting your health, right? So it's you have to understand that and learn that. I think it took a while for me. One thing I do that I want to ask about is, and you know, this is just personal, is I get up and I drink a big black coffee every morning. No sugar, no milk, no dairy, nothing, just plain black coffee. My mom and my wife both are against it, and they keep telling me that I need to stop. But it's such a habit for me that I don't want to be honest with you. And for me, it's like, okay, well, I'm not consuming any sugar. I'm not consuming, you know, any carbs, or if that, I mean, they're minuscule, right? And I'll do that, and then I'll have my protein shake maybe 2 hours after that, and then I'll go to the gym for my lunch break. So I'm just wondering, is that do you think that's a reasonable way to go about breakfast, or is it because my wife is like, no, you have to start eating breakfast as soon as you get up, and then take a break, and then have your coffee, and then, you know, do your protein shake almost like an early lunch or whatever it may be? What do you think is the right approach there? Just a personal question I had to ask.
Well, I love coffee.
Yeah.
So I've got a proper kind of coffee barista machine downstairs, and an Italian brand called Yes, yeah. And so the first thing I do when I wake up is go down and turn it on, because it takes 10 minutes to warm up before I can make a cup of coffee. So you know, there's nothing wrong with what you're doing at all. You know, from a health perspective, there's lots of benefits to coffee. So long as you have kind of good quality beans, there's a lot of benefits to it, and you're not over consuming it to the point that it then affects sleep quality. But if it's one cup of coffee in the morning, fine. You know, the one thing I would say with that is have a pint of water before you have the coffee, just to help yourself hydrate, you know, a little bit better. But there's nothing adverse to that. In terms of the 2 hour gap for breakfast, I come back to the physiological elastic band. For some people, if they have a lot of people when they diet, they skip breakfast, have a light lunch, and wonder why they can't stop eating in the evenings. It's the physiological elastic band. That's the only thing to consider. But it's different for everyone. Some people feel fine with that, other people don't. You know, and if it's something like that, I would, and you feel fine, and you find that you're not getting loads of cravings in the evening, it works. If you find you're getting loads of cravings in the evening, yeah, maybe bring breakfast forward, see if that helps a little bit, and maybe have something a bit more substantial. If you look at the calorie distribution most people have across the day, it's really low at breakfast, a little bit more at lunch, but still low. And then 80% is at dinner and after dinner. Well, 30% is at dinner and 40% is after dinner. And actually, for you, the reason why intermittent fasting is so good is you have that. I'm not eating after 6 p.m. For most people, they gain weight because of the amount of calories they consume after 6 p.m. or after dinner, depending on when people have dinner. So that would be the only consideration. But I mean, I'll sign a petition to keep your cup of coffee in the morning. Don't worry about that.
I appreciate that. I think I'll need it.
I'll sign it with you. Yes, I'm not gonna take it away from you.
Yeah, man, it's my thing. I love it. And I do Hoos, we did a bit of a review of that coffee, Arabica.
I had it today, and I thought of you. I had the exact same thing.
Yeah, Arabica is my thing. So
I had it
I
today.
get your single origin beans. I have my nice machine, just like you said. Got to have that grind right in the morning.
Yep.
It starts my day. It's like me and coffee, right?
Exactly. Do you still have the coffee shop Raw in Dubai?
Yeah, and Al Quoz, yeah, it's still there.
Amazing. Yeah, when I lived there, I used to go there. My wife and I would go there. Without kids, we'd take a book. We'd spend an hour in there reading it. It was absolutely delightful. We've picked some sofas away from the families. Not we just
You don't want a loud kid when you're reading, man. I get it.
when you don't have kids, you don't get it. When you have kids, you have sympathy, and you're like, I feel you. But when you don't have kids, you're like, no, I just want to read a book, man.
Yeah.
Okay, I remember last time I was able to pick up a book and read. Chris, what I really like about your approach is you really put the family first, and you really put the dad's perspective first. Is actually very unique. Like I've done a lot. I've had a lot of PTs, and none of them have really actually ever took that angle before, which I really like about it. One thing, and I want to get your take on it, is how much percentage would you put towards the mental versus the actual physical when it actually comes to getting healthy for a dad, especially myself?
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to be quite pedantic here and say that's kind of all or nothing thinking. Two things can be true. The physical training is important, and that also feeds into the mental, but the mental conditioning is important because that feeds into the physical. So, when you physically train, there are so many positive benefits that you have on the body. So mental health and physical health is bidirectional. Your body and your brain is bidirectional. If you move your body, you'll think better, you'll feel better. If you have more positive thoughts, then I'm not talking kind of toxic positivity, standing in the mirror and like, you are Superman. Not like that, but as in things like being conscious of what inputs you're putting into your brain. Social media, what accounts are you following? Do you read the news quite often? Because if you have a lot of negative and kind of quite catastrophizing stories going into your psyche, that's going to affect your mood and your energy and how you feel about yourself there. So it's about getting that balance right. And I would say the one thing that makes the biggest difference with this is having self-awareness as well. Because if you miss a training session, you're not going to feel as good later on in the day because of the physical effect training has. However, having that self-awareness and knowing, do you know what, I'm not going to have as much energy when I go home with the kids, and being like, okay, I need to accept that and be a little bit more conscious of what I want to do. Maybe you put your phone in the drawer so you can't just read the phantom vibrations that, make you think you have a text or an email or anything like that. It might be a case of going in and, saying to your partner, I'm getting so many cravings tonight. Please don't let me eat anything after dinner. Just getting them to do that. Or my favorite one is telling your kids that you're finished with dinner and you're not going to eat anymore. They don't need to know that it's so you don't go into the biscuit tin or anything like that. We don't want to pass on any kind of bad patterns onto them. But for me, if I tell my kids I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it. And it's the challenge I'm doing at the moment, running 10K a day for 30 days. I talk about it so much to my son and my daughter, and they ask about it every morning. There's no way you'd have to chop my leg off, and then I'd do a 10K crawl. I'd still try and do it purely because I've told them. So that's the other way. But which is it? They both work into the other. But the glue that holds them together is that self-awareness. And so with my clients, we have a weekly check-in where they send a voice note or video. Some trainers do like a type form, you do a questionnaire. The problem with that is, how's your week? Good. That's it. It's like, how's your week? Yeah, it was all right, but this happened at work, and then so and so's been a bit difficult with this, and then that, and then that, and that, and people just word vomit. It's amazing. And then I can then talk about that and act as that point of reflection for them. You don't need a trainer to do that. I mean, it helps. Obviously, I'm going to say it helps. Send me a message, but you can do that with journaling, or just sitting down and talking to your wife in bed. Before you go to sleep. How was your day? Oh, this and that, and then trying to notice those patterns, so that when your physical training drops, you can keep your mental fitness, mental conditioning tip top. And when your mental conditioning drops, because mental health goes in cycles, that's happening, and it's going to be harder for the next week to do the things that you should do, and to say no to the things that you don't really want to do if you're given a choice with the same mind. So then it puts you in a better position to make better choices over time. And making better choices over time is the best way to describe it, because if someone's weakness is a takeaway, success might be stopping them altogether. Of course, that's what everyone thinks. That's what success is. But if you have two takeaways a week, success might also just be having one takeaway a week. And then, a couple of months later, you go to one takeaway every 2 weeks. And actually it's the self-awareness that allows you to look at your behaviors, look at what you're doing, and to make sure you've got the physical fitness when you can get it, but you've also got the mental condition in there as well.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Self-awareness, man. How important is that?
So important.
Yeah, I mean,
not just
mental health.
Being a good dad as well.
Yeah.
It's underrated. People don't even think about that when they think about well-being or fitness. They just go straight to food and exercise, right? I mean, the balance between mental health and physical health is a huge factor too. When it comes to physical training, though, there's a couple of different ways that men usually train, dads usually train. Either they do full body workouts, especially if they haven't been training for a long time, for a certain period of time, and then they get into muscle groups where they'll work out like 3-4 times a week, and they'll do like chest one day, or chest and back and tri, and then legs and shoulders. Is there is one way better than the other, especially for dads that are busy, that don't have the time to dedicate 4 or 5 days every single week, in your opinion? And the other question I wanted to ask you, within the same question is obviously you're personally training people and at a distance too. Do you train people in the UAE? You've lived here before. Do you continue to do that while you're in the UK, or have you just sort of focused on the UK market at the current time?
And the good thing about online training is it is global. I've worked with guys in Dubai. I've worked with guys in Australia. I've got American clients. It's global, which is fantastic. One thing I do make sure with that, because training is so important. It's so important to A, do it safely, and B, do it so that you get the stimulus you want from the workouts. I get clients to send me videos of their final sets, so I can look at the form, make sure that's safe, and then when we know that's safe, we can then sort of push the intensity as well, and I can give feedback. So I spent 12 years on gym floors where I was working one-on-one with people. I tried online training for a little bit in that period and didn't enjoy it at the time, and so I'm fortunate. You do something for a long time, you can kind of tell what's happening, read between the lines. You can ask the right questions to work out what's going on. So that's the beauty of sort of online training, really. In terms of what the best workout is, the first question is, what's the goal? If the goal is body composition, then then it's how many times a week can you train? How long can you train for? And what equipment do you have access to? And if somebody turns around and says, I've got, adjustable dumbbells up to 15 kilos or 30 pounds, I can train 3 times a week for 30 minutes. I'm like, great. This is the kind of result we can get. This is the kind of result, we can't really get because we just can't put enough time in it. More often than not, the result which you can get with the time is still incredible, is still fantastic, is still going to improve every single area of that dad's life. But part of it is just managing those expectations. And like the result some people might want is like the bodybuilding show, absolutely stacked, gain 10 kilos of muscle and just like, you're going to find it hard to make that happen without extra assistance, which is definitely not the way to go because then increases your risk of cardiac arrest, which isn't ideal at all. So that's the number one question. Kind of what's the goal? You made the assumption that it's all resistance training as well, and I always think resistance training is the backbone. True. Yeah, I've done resistance training my whole life since I was 14, and I could go to a community gym. I think it's important. The one thing I'm excited about finishing this 30-day challenge is I can get back into the gym. I can start lifting weights again because I've missed it so much.
Yeah.
It's the longest time I've not strength trained at all. I've been doing press ups and pull ups where I can, but for in my opinion, for the best life as a dad, you need a mixture of both. You can weight it one way or the other, for sure. If someone prefers strength training, we'll mainly do strength training. But you need, if you want to keep up with your kid at soft play or on the beach or have good cardiovascular health, there needs to be some kind of cardio in there. And that could just be like long walks, right? It doesn't have to be running. It doesn't have to be something like that. It can be, fast-paced walks, families on the beach. You take 20 minutes to pace up and down, listening to a podcast, whatever it may be. The Dubai Dads podcast, of course. But in terms of resistance training, most of my clients will do 3 to 4 sessions a week, and it's anywhere from full body to some sort of split between 2 groups. So splitting into 2 workouts. So it might be upper, lower, might be anterior, posterior. But the issue I have with body part split, so chest, then like you might do shoulders, or like chest and triceps, back and biceps, legs, and then shoulders and something else as well, is if you can only train, if you have a split which is 4 sessions, you hit every single muscle group. If you want to maintain your muscle, you need to hit every single session every single week. The chances are there's going to be a couple of weeks where you don't, and then all of a sudden the frequency of training to get the result you want has gone. Right. It's gone because it's 7 days between training chest, one to the next. At best, you're going to maintain. The other thing is the amount of volume you'll get in that session is going to be massive. Most people don't need that when they're dads, because if you think about strength training, there's 2 sides of it. You've got the stimulus, which is strength training, and then you've got your ability to recover from it. And if your sleep isn't perfect, your nutrition isn't perfect, you're not going to be able to recover from heavy resistance training. And that's fine. You just reduce the volume, but you can do that with full body. And let's say you have 2 full body sessions that you rotate. If you get 3 sessions in 1 week, great, perfect amount of frequency. The next week, if you get 2 sessions in, still pretty good. If you get 1 session in 1 week, you've hit everything. So you're maintaining on your worst week. And so it really does depend on the client, what their goal is, what they want to achieve. But for most dads, full body or some sort of anterior, posterior, or upper, lower split.
Makes sense.
Very cool. Chris, for my last question, I just want to ask more about you. How much has, prioritizing fitness and being healthy, how has that impacted, one, how your kids see you, how your family operates, how, you and your partner, how you guys operate? How much has that impacted you personally?
So much. I mean, my kids' worldview, they think doing stupid challenges like running 10K a day is normal. They think it's cool to run. They think, it's cool to eat broccoli. It's cool to eat vegetables. They think it's normal to snack on a piece of fruit. And I've always had good health and fitness. It's obviously been a big part of my identity ever since, I was younger. But seeing how it shapes my kids and their preferences. Last Halloween, the first door we knocked on, they had a big platter of sweets, and then they had 3 oranges in the middle, and my kids chose the oranges. And the mum was like, "Oh my goodness, I only put them on there just because I felt bad there wasn't anything like that on there." And I know most people listening to this will think, "Poor kids, that's a sad life. They don't get to have sweets. They can have the sweets if they want to, but they choose it because that's what they see. My wife and I eat. It's there was a period when my son was first born where it was in COVID, so the gyms were shut. I was in the UK at this time, so I moved back to the UK in November 2021. So as you guys gained freedom, we back in the UK we had our second lockdown. So we had that, and that was probably one of the only times in my life where I really struggled with nutrition, because we're in a small house with a newborn baby. Training because the gyms were closed and we're all sort of locked down, and it's freezing cold Baltic conditions in the UK compared to Dubai. And that's where I really felt the negative effects of not living, what I've preached my whole life, really. And it makes you you're more reactive over the little things which just do not matter in the grand scheme of things. It makes marriage harder. When you get more frustrated at your kids. My son was crying because he didn't, he wanted his mum to breastfeed, he didn't want me, and I was getting really angry about it. And I'm just like, I look back on it, I just think, it's a newborn. I'm there frantically trying to do it and just feeling like awful in myself. But then you're just like, it's a newborn, it's not personal. But it's hard to have that state of mind, one in the moment anyway, when you've got a newborn. But of course, it's even harder if you haven't got all of these habits to help you feel like yourself and like the person that you are.
Yeah, man, I feel you. Yeah, it's super important, honestly. And again, talking to you, to a person like you, is very different than my lifestyle, because growing up, I was very opposite of that. And it's only come to me as an adult, as a father, and I'm hoping I could be that role model for my kids that 6 years ago would not have been. So
yeah, no, for sure. Yeah. Chris, I want to ask you one last thing before we go, and that is, if you had one piece of advice for all the dads out there, what would it be?
Oh, I'm gonna have to take a minute to think about this one. It's a really, really good question, and it's hard because there's so much, but okay, I've got it. So the one piece of advice I give is really think about why you actually want to change, and there's a bit of a technique to it, and I'm gonna be a bit cheeky and add a 1A and 1B part to this. So the 1A is, ask yourself why you want to get healthy and improve your fitness. And then when you've got that, you ask yourself why again. And you'll go a little bit deeper. You're still scratching the surface. It's not emotional yet. But then on that answer, you ask yourself why again. So I want to be fitter, so I have more energy to play with my kids. Why do you want to do that? So that my kids have positive memories, so that, they look back fondly on their childhood. Why do you want that? Because there are times in my life where perhaps I didn't have that, and that's not what I want for my kids. I want them to grow up and not, feel like their childhood lacked. Why do you want that? And you go deeper and deeper, and you get to the real core, okay? And then you write that down on a Post-it note, and then you put it on your bathroom mirror, because that's going to be the thing that gets you going, okay? And that will work for a month, maybe 2 months. But the problem is, when you then make progress and you move further away from that initial pain point, from that position of, I really don't want to be where I am right now, the motivation drops because you're nowhere near it. You don't have the same pain. So then you need to think about, okay, well, who do I want to become? And then you start thinking, okay, well, who do I want to become? What habits do I want my kids to have? What habits do I don't want them to have? And there's a good exercise I do with my clients, and it comes in 3 parts. You've got 2 tables. You've got habits you never regret, and then you've got habits you always regret. And the next column is why. And then the next column is what type of person does these. So a habit you always regret might be, I'll tell you one of my clients. a habit he always regretted was sharing a bottle of wine with his wife on a Friday night. Why? Because it meant on Saturday morning he wasn't the dad he wanted to be with his kids. There was one event where he was playing on the floor with his son, hungover, and his kid was just saying, "Daddy, play with me," and he just couldn't. He just felt so bad. And then when it comes to the kind of person that does this, it's somebody who doesn't put their kids first, somebody who doesn't think being a dad is the most important job in the world. And for him, that was such a contrast to the person he wanted to be. And that was such a, almost like a hammer to the identity that he wanted to have, that it was enough for every time, drinking on a Friday night came up, he was like, no, he actually, this is true. He actually came to me, and one of the things he put in his questionnaire was, "I don't want to stop drinking." And I'm like, fine. I think anyone will be a better dad if they, just don't drink at all. But I get some people like to do it, and, a glass of wine with dinner. If you drink like European, not like English, but if you drink like Europeans, you guys know what English people like at the brunches.
Yeah.
If you drink like Europe, like French, where you have like a glass of wine, or like, you go have a beer after work and it's like a small 330ml bottle, fine, that's not going to affect it. But if you really think about those habits, that you go those layers deeper, where is this the kind of person I want to be? Is this the world that I want my kids to think is normal? And then that will be the thing which kind of keeps you on track and keeps you going. And catch yourself if it's an all or nothing mindset and question it.
That's awesome.
It's a nice way to end it, man. I like that story, man. And Chris, honestly, man, I'm really happy we connected, and I really appreciate what you do. And I'm telling you, from a dad like me, we need people like you out there, man. And we need people who understand how it can be, and also to call us out on our BS, man. Sometimes we need to be called out. It's just part of that, man. So we appreciate you, Chris. If people want to find you, where can they find you, man?
Sure. Type in FatherFitPT on Instagram, YouTube. They're the ones I'm active on. And email me, chris@fatherfitpt.com.
Awesome. I'll include all your details in. For people out there who are listening, we have started a Dubai Dads WhatsApp community, and actually Chris joined, and we'll hopefully be rolling out next few days. Very excited. Probably by the time this episode comes out, the community should be live. We already have around 40 plus dads signed up as initial start.
Amazing.
We love it. The whole point of it is to fathers supporting fathers. Place for us to talk, come together, laugh, vent, just say hi, be accountable, help each other. Me and the ass are be very active on there, trying to talk about what we're going through. So whoever's out there, a dad or soon to be dad, please, you can go to DubaiDads.com and sign up. And when it comes to the socials, it's Dubai Dads everywhere, and that's pretty much it. Anything you want to add, Yas?
No, that's it. I mean, I'm really glad you took the time, Chris. And, this is something that we as dads all need to focus on. Our health doesn't just matter for us, it matters for our kids. And it matters for us to be able to be the best dads we possibly can. So if that's a priority for a father, then it's something we need to really look deeply into. And, find time. Make sure that we're looking at prioritizing whether it's our diet, our physical health, or our mental health, and keeping up on top of it. So thanks a lot. I appreciate your time.
Well said, Yas. I'm Hoos, he's Yas, he's Chris, and we're Dubai Dads, and we're out.
The sun ain't up, but I'm out the door. Boots on the ground, here to rooster roll. Bills stack high, dreams stack low. Still I'm grinding, that's all I know. One hand on the plow, the other on my phone. Little voices calling daddy when you're coming home. They don't see the weight I carry on my back. Trying to build a future on a broken track. I'm holding the line, doing my best.